What is going on, everybody? It's Nothing But Skills, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the state of the game. We had some news come out about the M1A. A lot of you guys probably see the gameplay right here of me using it. It's probably one of the most popular guns in the game. Now we had a 40 around, I want to say they're saying around a 40% M1A nerf to this weapon, but they did come out in the state of the game and said that they will be reverting it back. Yes, they said it, they're going to be reverting it back for PvE, and for PvP it's going to be 20% nerf, but they're still looking at somehow rebalancing this a little bit, because right now it's the most used weapon in the game, and we can all agree with that. It is the most used weapon in the game, but some people are saying that we should just buff other weapons. They're saying if they buff other weapons, content might get too easy, and they're working on how they can rebalance it and put everything in line. So let's listen to what they had to say about the M1A.
So what we're going to do as a first step is we are going to revert the nerf of the M1A and the Baker's Dozen in PvE. So in PvE, it will return to the old way it was before the Q9 patch yesterday. For PvP, we will still do an adjustment that is going to be 20% nerf for the weapon, because we also have seen the reaction in the PvP community, which was that they welcomed that this weapon was nerfed. Do you want to add anything to that, Bruce?
In regards to the PvP balance?
Just in general to that change in general.
Well, I mean, if all we do is revert the change, then we will, for all intents and purposes, be throwing the PvP balance or community under the bus again. And we don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. And we're well aware that the M1A is an issue in PvP, and we want to at least address that while we can. So we're going to, I believe, we're reducing its damage by another 20% in PvP only, while maintaining its damage as it existed in TU 8.6 or prior to TU 9 in PvE.
So in terms of timing, we are obviously looking into what we can do as soon as possible. So it might be this week. It's a target for this week. It might be next week. We'll keep you up to date, obviously, on maintenance timings. We also know that we have run a lot of maintenances in the last couple of weeks, so we don't want to overdo it. That being said, as Hamish ran through the list of known issues, we also have other things that we want to fix with a high priority. So if we have the skill to put those fixes in together with that change, we'll do it. I want to point out that when that change goes in, we might also see another UI issue for Stadia users. So if you're playing on Stadia, you might see that still as the TU9 values, and that will just need a client update. So it will be a little bit longer, but again, the reversal of the nerf is planned for this week. And again, for the complete picture, in PvP there will still be a nerf, but it will be only 20%.
So there you have it. The M1A will be getting a revert to 40% buff again, or whatever the buff was. It'll be back to normal in PvE, and in PvP it will be 20%. And they said they're still looking at it though, because they do feel that it's a little bit overtuned and they want it to be in balance with other weapons. So maybe in the future it'll get a 20% nerf, but as of right now, until they can fully balance it to make it where people still think it's okay and it's still worth it, they're going to revert it. Now, they didn't say when it was going to happen. If you guys listen to that, they didn't say exactly when. I'm assuming maybe next week if they can get it in. But there are some other bugs and fixes, like the Coney Island mission that they're trying to fix. I think the only way to get past that, I've heard of people, is when you do it, if you die and you go back to the checkpoint and you do the checkpoint, you can get past it. That's the only way to get by it right now that I've heard of. So if you're doing it on heroic, that's the big issue. You have to start all the way back from the beginning. You would have to do it on a lower difficulty. Now they talk a little bit, well, they don't really talk about, they mention a little bit about the raid coming in the spring, which would be April, which we're past April, so at least May. I'm assuming it would be May. But listen to what they had to say about that.
I've seen questions about this already in chat and on that last week as well, and we didn't say anything. So on the raid date, nothing has changed. It's still planned to be in the calendar of spring. So if you Google Northern Hemisphere spring, you'll see a date range, and that's where we are still planning to do this.
Okay, let's Google this real quick. He said Northern Hemisphere spring. So let's type that in real quick. Oh, look, it's coming up already. Perfect. What does it say? It says Northern Hemisphere spring begins March 1st, summer June 1st. So I guess they'll have till 1st of June. I'm guessing what they're saying. It will come out before 1st.
Nothing has changed in terms of how we approach this. The raid is still planned to be free for everybody who owns the Division 2. But as Bruce says, like the balance that we're doing now and that is, planned to come for not only the M1A but other items will affect the rate. So we also are very, very aware that whatever we're doing now also affects that summit, right? So the holistic approach is really, really important, not only for the current game, but also what's coming afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it looks like a lot of these balancing changes are coming because they're trying to balance out everything prior to the raid dropping, because they want it to be challenging. They want it to be fun. So we'll see what happens with the balancing, the nerfs, the buffs going forward. So hopefully we have a raid next month. They did get into some information about some changes they have target dates for. So listen to this.
We're looking at things after TU9. So TU9 is now here. We do want, we're currently working on things, and we do want to do more work on balance, and that includes other things as well. Like I know that Nikki is looking at, containers and all that purple loot stuff and all that stuff, but that's not something that we can do within like weeks, right? So it's not a quick fix. It's not something that we can do just like, putting some code lines in there. So the current target date, and then say target date very pronounced because that's might be changing, is June. So in June we're looking at a larger balance pass for not only difficulty but also loot and all that stuff. Again, some things might shift. Some, for example, we might have some balance things going in and some other not going in, but we'll keep you up to date on that. But just to give you a rough time frame, is what we're currently targeting.
Now, another thing they did address was the send-off. If you guys don't know, that was the only weapon in the game that currently still had a holstered talents. But they ended up taking it out. It's no longer there. There is no holstered talent for the send-off.
A little bit bored of rifles, so I made a skill build.
Yeah.
Ooh, the send-off. That's Dunzo. What happened?
So the send-off, the optics on this aren't great. Again. But as we all know, in TU8 or Warlords of New York, we removed holstered talents from the game. We didn't want to support them, and we wanted to go in a new direction. Rooted was a holstered talent. The send-off, the named version, had the named version of that talent, and it unfortunately could be, we redesigned the send-off to have a huge range increase, to sort of play with the fantasy of the Keltec of that shotgun. One of its cool factors is that you can load it with buckshot or slugs, at the same time. So we're like, hey, what if this shotgun has really crazy range? That's fun. That's cool. And that's what we chose to replace Rooted with. Now, unfortunately, there was a way to craft the send-off and have it roll with perfectly Rooted. That was never intended. So we had to fix it. It was a bug,
Okay.
Now, I know that this sort of dovetails or becomes part of a larger conversation about the inadequacy of skill builds, or what are we going to do to make skill builds feel better? I agree. They're a little bit underrepresented right now, and they don't have as many gear set options or talent options or weapon talent options. We're addressing that for the next title update. We actually have some pretty cool gear that's brand new talents, and is actually geared towards not necessarily just skill builds per se, but hybrid skill builds where you can be a little bit of weapon and a little bit of skill and actually have that feel viable, while also having options to just commit even further to your skill build and have it pay off in some way.
We have it right there. We have it. We found out some news about the M1A for all of you guys who were a little upset about it. the nerf is being reversed for the 20% in PvP. For the PvP guys who really didn't mind the nerf, it's going to be to 20% versus 40%. And it looks like we should be seeing some new content in the future. The raid should be launching May based on the kind of speculation they gave us, because summer does start June 1st. So it looks like in May we should be seeing the raid unless COVID-19 delays anything. They also mentioned some small nitbits. If you listen closely, they talked about future content. They are working on future content, so that means we should have more content in the future. Another title update, of course. So some good things coming forward. Hopefully, let me know what you guys think about all of this. Do you think this was a good thing for them to push back the M1A nerf and give it 100% revert, or do you think it deserved a little bit of a nerf but not 40%? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Remember, if you're new, first time watching any of my videos, hit the subscribe button, turn that notification on so when I release a video, you guys get notified. We're gonna wrap the video up here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Nothing but skills out.